Bronie, my name is Times Entry of the Bronie Brothers, and welcome back to Danganronpa. I'm so glad I had to finally get here. Whew. Let's do this. Alright.
Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong one, then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate. Now then, to begin with...
We already know who did it!
Was
that?
Okay, that's new!
It was Hiro. He does not have an alibi for when the murders took place, and we found him in that suit.
I do not like her. I shouldn't like Yakia, but her, I'm starting to not stand her.
Don't try and deny it! You killed them!
I didn't! Someone knocked me out! I was asleep the whole time! I don't know anything about it!
Shut your murdering mouth, murderer!
Oh, like you want to talk.
Who are you calling a murderer?
I am sorry to say, Hiro, but we do have evidence. Blueprints for the suit. Parts we assume were used to build it.
Don't make so.
And all of it was found in your room. You have to admit, the evidence is quite compelling. It points to you as having created the suit and wearing it while committing crime after crime.
How many times do I have to tell you? I don't know!
I think you could have put it in 10 ways and said it really fast. Kind of like stupid. It's funny that time. Okay. Yes, Hero's present. What message?
Everything we found in your room.
No way.
The blueprints, the suit parts, they are all proof.
Milk is wrong.
Seriously, it was right. I'm trying to get
Are
the
we
purple,
sure Hiro
but I
really
pressed
made
the-
those blueprints?
I'm glad
What do you mean?
Well, take a look at this. It's the note that Hiro wrote, asking everyone to meet up after Alter Ego disappeared.
Dude, I thought we agreed to keep that profile in front of you.
The handwriting's obviously different, wouldn't you say? When you compare it to the blueprints.
There's no way you could think the same person made both of them.
Yeah,
Unless
I
that
have bad
person
writing.
made it a point to disguise their handwriting.
Seriously, come on. I have bad handwriting. But I still get signed in. Besides, didn't Hiro say that he was trying to... he doesn't do good handwriting? No spirits? You have any good spirits?
No, the differences are bigger than that, I think.
Come on! I'm not smart enough to think of trying to change my handwriting anyway.
So Makoto, are you saying you don't think Hiro's the culprit?
And he's not the only one. I think Hiro's innocent as well.
Wait, what? Seriously? He's on our side now? When did this happen?
Then who was in that Robo-Justice suit?
Well, it was,
Is it like Hiro said? Was there really someone running around in a second suit?
The suspicious individual hidden within the suit. Go ahead, Makoto. Tell them who it was.
Okay.
So? Who was in the Robo-Justice suit?
Okay, it was, much options, is it? Other than in the Illuminati, I have to say, sorry, Hero.
I got it! Other than Hero, I can't think of anyone else it could have been. Obviously, he was the one in that particular suit, and we never found any kind of second suit.
Then there can be no doubt. Hero is the prime suspect.
That doesn't make any sense. You just said Hero didn't do it.
It makes perfect sense. Hero was the suspicious individual in the suit, but he's not the culprit.
So what you're saying
It
is...
riddles.
That's right. The culprit in this case has nothing to do with being in the Robo-Justice suit.
What?
Seriously?
Now that's a bold assumption. And what reason do you have to make such a statement? You do have a reason, yes?
Of course. But before we get to that, there's something else we need to clarify first. So let's get that out of the way.
Hey, stop trying to boss us around!
All things have a proper order.
So what is it? What needs to be clarified?
We must clarify the method of transportation for Taka's lifeless body.
You mean that?
It would seem that his corpse was moved using certain particular items. Makoto, can you tell us what they were?
I got it!
And okay, this is actually the first time we actually used.
I got it! They were a dolly and a tarp, right?
The attitude.
So,
Yes.
let's see if I can explain. Taka's body disappeared from the equipment room, and then we rediscovered it in the repository. And when we found it for the second time, it was wrapped in a blue tarp, right? It was the same tarp that, up until then, was stored in the equipment room. So the killer must have seen it there, and decided to use it when they moved Taka's body.
That would make
That
sense.
way, they wouldn't leave any bloodstains while they were moving it.
Okay, that explains the tar. And the dolly?
Same thing. I'm sure the dolly was in the equipment room when we first found Taka's body there. But when the body disappeared, so did the dolly. Later, when Taka's body reappeared in the repository, so did the dolly.
In other words, you think they used the dolly to move the body, am I right? But are you sure you are not mistaken?
Huh?
Are you absolutely positive the dolly was in the equipment room when we found Taka's body? That dolly was made specifically for moving large objects between the repository and the art room. It would be very strange indeed to discover it had made its way to the equipment room. Is it not possible that it was in the repository all along, and you simply didn't realize it?
She's raised an objection. How do you respond?
There is no shame in being wrong. Nobody expects much from you anyway. We have all accepted the fact that you rarely understand what is going on around you.
Man, I hope she dies next. Wait, what? Are we talking about that gun on music thing? Fine. Better be safe than sorry. ammo count. Start square X. Okay. You will automatically reload at the start of fever time. Your ammo will not decrease. I'm surprised we're doing this now.
You have it wrong. I cannot agree. You are a fool. So pathetic. Lies will get you nowhere. Do your worst. Away with you. You miserable wretch. I cannot agree. You are a fool. Lies will get you nowhere. Do your worst, you miserable wretch. You have it wrong. I cannot agree. You are a fool. So pathetic. Lies will get you nowhere. Do your worst. Away with you. You miserable wretch. I cannot agree.
This should prove it. If you're asking for proof that the dolly moved, I have it right here. When I found the dolly in the repository, one of the wheels had a blood stain on it. There was a pool of blood in the equipment room with a tire mark in it that matched the dolly wheel's tread.
Satisfied.
The killer probably rolled the dolly through the blood on accident as they wheeled the body out of the room. And as the blood dried on the tire, they moved the body into the repository. So there's my proof that the dolly was used to move Taka's body.
She doesn't hate you. I think she was responsible. And just made her get into a corner. You know, if we do that, like you think, with the camera angle, you know that thing? Select the character. I'm picking her. Even if I do get it wrong, I'm picking her. I hate her.
Well, anyway, that was just something we had to get out of the way. Let's get back to the main subject.
Yeah, the subject of how Robo-Justice didn't do it. Because if it's not a killer robot, then what kind of robot is it?
I'm not sure that really matters.
Yeah, that makes
I'd be happy to explain why the occupant of the suit couldn't possibly be the killer. If you look back on how the body was transported, it will become immediately obvious.
Moving on.
As we know, Taka was killed in the equipment room. And from there, the body was moved to the repository, correct?
Yeah, the culprit wrapped the body in the tarp, then loaded it onto the dolly and wheeled it off, right?
Now, keep in mind that the dolly doesn't have a handle.
Hey, Yeah, you have
Well,
to push it.
yeah. But even without a handle, all you'd have to do is bend over.
No, that's wrong!
You can't bend over. That's right.
You're absolutely right that you could push a dolly without a handle if you stoop down low. But if you were wearing that suit, do you think you could actually get into a position like that?
What do you mean?
Think back to what you said when we were all checking out the suit together. Remember?
Okay. Alright, let's recap. Okay, she said she can't see. She can't see her feet. And, can't bend at the waist. I think that would be useful.
When you're in that suit, not only can you not see your feet, but you can't even bend at the waist. Am I right about that?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
It seems like it'd be awfully hard to push that dolly if you couldn't bend over.
Well, what's to stop you from simply pushing the dolly with your feet?
When you can't even see your feet? You really think someone could kick the dolly all that way?
Yeah, it'd be totally impossible! Not that I can say for sure myself.
On top of that, if you were wearing such a rigid, cumbersome suit, it's very unlikely you would have the dexterity to go about wrapping the body in a tarp.
Well, I mean, isn't that just a matter of taking off the suit when you're ready to move the body?
I don't think that's possible.
I got it! I don't think taking off the suit was an option. If you remember...
Yeah, those buckets. See? Right there. Right there. You see it? That's a big giveaway.
That's true. It seems impossible to put the suit on or take it off without help.
Then, you really can't take it off by yourself? Hero wasn't just making it up?
Of course I wasn't making it up.
If he could have gotten it off by himself, I don't think he would have let us see him wearing it. Showing up in the suit was basically an invitation for everyone to suspect it.
Yeah, that's right!
So, it's really true that Robo-Justice couldn't have moved the dolly?
To be clear, whoever did move the body, it couldn't have been Hero in the robot suit, correct?
No, wait. Just a second, if you please. Have you forgotten about the picture that I took? You all got a good look at it, did you not? The image of Hifumi being dragged away by Robo-Justice? If whoever was in that suit is not the culprit, how do you explain that? Besides, do you remember what the now deceased Hifumi said?
What did he say again? Oh, we're talking about what happened before he got deceased. Robo-Justice. That's what I decided to call him. Now.
So long as those facts exist, the proper conclusion is beyond question. The individual inside the suit and the culprit are one and the same. It was Hero, without a doubt. Yeah, that's gotta be right.
No! No!
Hold on a second!
It's still far too early to reach that conclusion. Besides, there's no hurry to decide who did it. Before we rush to a verdict, shouldn't we explore every single possibility? Instead of seizing on one viewpoint, the truth is uncovered by analyzing things from every angle.
Perhaps, but where do we go from here?
Let's review this series of unfortunate events from the beginning. Maybe we'll uncover something new.
He got you, Lemony Snicket! I mean, she got you, Lemony Snicket. It's a series of unfortunate events. Can't believe she actually said that. Take that, Count Olaf. You suck, and you're a terrible actor. Boo! No wonder Makoto likes her.
What a pain in the ass!
Shut up! No one even asked you.
I don't disagree, but our lives are on the line. If this is what it takes, we have to do it.
Plus, maybe we'll get to find out where the heck Kyoko was when everything went down.
A good question. But maybe for another time.
All right then, let's take another look back at what happened.
Okay, for the audience, let's recap.
I suppose we could start with this morning. 4 of us gathered together in the dining hall. Makoto, Hina, Kyoko, and myself. We waited there for quite a while, but nobody else showed up, so we went to look for everyone. That was around 8 a.m.
And as soon as we split up, Kyoko went missing.
Soon after that, Hina found Celeste in the rec room and quickly came to get Makoto and me.
It seems I was unconscious for about an hour after I was attacked by my mystery assailant. I know it was an hour because I remember being attacked a little after 7.
That was when we saw Celeste's picture and discovered that her assailant had been wearing a strange costume. As it turns out, it was Robo-Justice. It also soon became clear that this same Robo-Justice had abducted Hifumi. We were soon joined in our search by Byakuya and Toko, and then went on to find Hifumi in the library. He was injured, so we took him to the nurse's office and resumed our search for the suspect. But not long after leaving the nurse's office...
When Celeste told us that, we decided to split up and search the second floor. And soon after that...
I saw someone moving around on the 3rd floor, and I yelled out to everyone as soon as I did.
Intense screams for someone like you. Down into the hallway and further down in the hallway.
And then...
Do that. That's when we decided to split up, right?
At that point, we decided to divide up into 2 groups. Celeste, Hina, and I went back to the nurse's office, while Sakura, Byakuya, and Toko chased after the suspect. When we got back to the nurse's office, we found Hifumi, dead. And that's when we heard the body discovery announcement. I left Celeste and Hina there and headed back to the 3rd floor to let the others know what had happened.
His official death, not his second death.
Meanwhile, we had just discovered Taka's body in the equipment room. We must have found both bodies at almost exactly the same time. Because we heard the same announcement not long after we discovered his body.
And that's when I told you guys about Hifumi. Then the 3 of us headed for the nurse's office. But right after we left the physics lab, we ran into Celeste, who'd arrived after us, and she told us something very surprising. rushed back to the nurse's office and saw that she was right.
Then we remembered we'd left Toko passed out in the equipment room, so we hurried back again. But when we got there, we discovered that now Taka's body had also gone missing. Next thing we knew, we were searching the school for 2 missing dead bodies. And after some time...
Celeste informed us that she'd found the bodies, and we all headed to the repository.
Yeah, that is suspicious. How did she know where they were?
Which is where we rediscovered the corpses.
I think that about covers it.
I see. The whole thing sounds exceptionally complicated. It certainly seems to me that these are not a simple series of connected events.
Okay, well, if that's true, then what?
Rather than a single series of events, I think we have to consider each murder a separate situation. And from there, we can uncover the contradictions surrounding all of them. Now then, let's get started, beginning with what happened to Taka.
Okay. What are we doing now? Okay, I got a scan.
So, regarding Taka's death, I wonder if he died before Hifumi, or perhaps it was after?
We already know what order they were killed in. Taka came last
What makes you say that?
That worked.
because of the numbering of the Justice Hammers.
It's true that Hifumi was killed with Justice Hammer 3, while Taka's death came from a swing of Justice Hammer 4.
See? So it's obvious Taka came after.
So, regarding Taka's death, I wonder if he died before Hifumi, or perhaps it was after?
We already know what order they were killed in. Taka came last
What makes you say that?
because of the numbering of the Justice...
No, it's wrong! Hold on. There's no reason to assume that the hammers were used in the same order as their numbers. If anything, that's just another way the killer tried to disguise their actions.
So you're saying the culprit wanted us to think the hammers were used in order, but in reality, Taka was killed before Hifumi? Okay then, let's see the proof.
Okay. One time. Is he talking about the wristwatch? Wait, I know this music. Pigment's Gambit. Okay, if it's wristwatch, then one, two, three.
Now I understand! I've got it! Taka's wristwatch! See? Look! It broke with the hands pointing just past 6 o'clock.
It must have gotten broken when he was attacked by the killer, because as of last night, So if it wasn't broken after 6 last night, then he must have been attacked around 6 this morning.
And that would be his official time of death.
But if that's true, then he was killed well before Hifumi.
And before Celeste was attacked this morning, which happened around 7.
That's right. Taka was killed before any of the other incidents took place.
That simple fact slipped past all of us. We made the wrong assumption about the order of events, all because of those justice hammers.
That's exactly why the culprit wrote the numbers on each hammer and had them increase in size. That way, when we saw how they were used in each incident, we'd easily make that wrong assumption.
Now, if Taka was killed around 6, then everyone's alibis for his murder go out the window.
Okay. Let's throw them all out the window, folks. Grab your alibi, and then I'm blowing up and... Gone forever.
Because when he was killed, we hadn't met up in the dining hall yet.
That may be true in the case of Taka's murder. But all of our alibis still hold true for Hifumi's death.
That's right. With him, at least, we're all safe.
I'll go get my alibi. Here's my alibi.
When we heard Hifumi screaming, we were all together. Except for Hiro and Kyoko. Then we all ran down to the nurse's office, and that's where we found his body.
That's totally true. We're all in the clear.
Oh, I know! They must have recorded him screaming on a tape or something, then played it later on!
If that's true, where's the tape?
I don't know.
Don't just go making stuff up.
Anyway, we all have rock-solid alibis for when we heard Hifumi scream. Since all of us were there together, clearly none of us could have killed him.
And it does not stop there. There was also the moment when we discovered his body had disappeared. When his body vanished from the nurse's office, Hina and I were in the bathroom together, while everyone else was in the equipment room, correct? And then there's the disappearance of Taka's body from the equipment room. At that time, we were all gathered together in the nurse's office because of Hifumi going missing.
Well, don't forget, I was passed out in the equipment room the whole time.
Yeah, I guess you're...
Wait, then what if Genocide Jill did it? She could have dragged Taka's body out of there right then!
Seriously?
Even if she could pull that off, there's no way she could have done the same with Hifumi's body. Because, as we just established, she was passed out in the equipment room when his body disappeared.
Besides, I didn't do either of them anyway.
In other words, it is impossible that any of us could have killed Hifumi or moved either of their bodies. On the other hand, Hiro and Kyoko had disappeared, so they most certainly could have done those things.
So what now, Kyoko?
For now, we can't get fixated on who did it, or we'll just keep going around in circles. So instead of who, I propose we start talking about how.
I know the sign
In
language
particular,
word.
I think we need to figure out how Hifumi's body got moved.
I've been
That's
taking
true.
ASL
We
classes
searched everywhere,
in high school.
but we couldn't figure out how to explain his
It was
body
only the one
disappearing. And according to what Celeste said, his body apparently disappeared in the 1 minute her and Hina took their eyes off of it. But to carry that much weight from the first floor up to the third in that short amount of time?
Oh man, yeah! There's no way! It'd be impossible!
Well, what if I told you there was a way to make the impossible possible?
What are you, Kim Possible? Hey!
What? How?
If the dead body were to move itself.
The dead body moved on its own?
Seriously?
No! Not another... ghost!
Zombies and immortals that have played dead and after they were actually murdered and can move around, not ghosts. And besides, if it was a ghost, wouldn't its body still be there? And besides, they can barely make physical contact with inanimate or animate objects.
I don't think it has anything to do with the occult. I think what she's implying is... we thought Hifumi was dead, but perhaps in reality he was still alive.
He was alive?
Are you saying Hifumi wasn't carried out of the nurse's office, but simply walked out on his own?
But I mean, we found his body. He was dead.
Perhaps he was simply playing dead.
That it isn't possible.
Okay. Broken wristwatch.
Are you saying that when we first found Hifumi in the nurse's office, there's a chance he was actually still alive?
No, it is impossible. Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
And you know that how?
Yeah, how would you know?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us.
No, that doesn't...
Hifumi's dead body had been found. And that is why the announcement was made.
Are we really so sure about that? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone
She
else's
might be onto
discovery.
something. Someone else's discovery. There were actually two bodies found at the same time. What if the announcement was for her Taka?
Are you saying that when we first found Hifumi in the nurse's office, there's a chance he was actually still alive?
No, it is impossible. Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
And you know that how?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us. Hifumi's dead body had been found. And that is why the announcement was made.
Are we really so sure about that? Maybe the announcement was intended to signal someone else's discovery.
Okay, let's try it again. Because I'm down to 3 hearts. 3 hearts ain't good, folks.
Are you saying that when we first found Hifumi in the nurse's office, there's a chance he was actually still alive?
Okay, I
No,
got it.
it is impossible. Hifumi was dead, without a doubt.
And you know that how?
Surely you heard the body discovery announcement along with the rest of us. Hifumi's dead body had been found.
No, it's wrong!
That never gets... That gets old very quick.
Was the
Why not
body
something new?
discovery announcement that was made really intended for Hifumi?
Of course it was. The announcement played right after we discovered his body.
Maybe.
Sure.
But that was also the same time that Taka's body was found.
That's right. It wasn't long after finding his body that we heard the announcement.
So there's a good chance we've made a mistake in there somewhere. I think we've confused whether the announcement was for Hifumi or Taka.
My theory is actually right.
First of all, if 2 bodies had been found, there really should have been 2 announcements.
That's right.
Maybe Monokuma simply got lazy and rolled them together into one.
What do you say, Monokuma? Any comment?
Well, it's a very sensitive issue, so I can't go into too much detail. But what I can say about the body discovery announcement is that it's only broadcast when 3 or more people find a dead body for the first time.
That didn't answer our question, man. We're asking if you're a lazy bum.
No, actually, that was plenty.
Really?
He said it's only broadcast when a body is discovered for the first time. Which means,
that makes sense.
even if we find the same body again later, he won't make the announcement again. If that's true, then why was the announcement made again later on?
Yeah, that's right.
Huh? Later on?
Yeah,
Exactly.
in repository.
We heard the body discovery announcement twice.
It was during the repository. Yes, this one.
I got it! We heard it a second time in the repository, when we rediscovered the 2 bodies. It didn't seem weird at the time, but it contradicts what Monokuma just told us, doesn't it?
Exactly. If we were actually rediscovering both bodies, the announcement shouldn't have played.
And in reality, when the 2 dead bodies were rediscovered, one of them was actually being discovered for the first time.
So, when we found Hifumi the first time in the nurse's office, he wasn't actually dead yet. Meaning, he wasn't actually found dead until we came upon him in the repository.
And that's just part of it. There's one other thing that leads me to believe he was still alive in the nurse's office.
Oh, I know! Because he was super good at playing dead! Bada bing, bada boom!
Guess you could put it like that.
That is the worst logic I have ever heard. But honestly, I do not think there's anything that can prove he was still alive.
There's gotta be proof.
Okay then, let's take another look at the events surrounding the discovery of his body. Then it should become clear whether he was really alive or not.
This whole thing is pointless.
Shut up. Our lives are on the line. Including yours. Yeah, they were clean the second time.
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
Then, was he really still alive?
Of course not. It is impossible. This is ridiculous.
I think I found out what it was when those thought crosses got
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
Got him.
No, he's wrong.
Hey, Monokuma! I got him in the break.
In fact, there was one clear difference between Hifumi in the nurse's office and the repository. His glasses. That fact alone proves that he was only playing dead in the beginning.
Perhaps you'd like to fill the rest of us in?
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, his glasses were covered with blood. But when we found him again later in the repository, they were spotless. And I found the item he used to wipe them clean in the nurse's office trash can.
Okay, I think it's the young class clean.
I got it! It was a glasses cleaning cloth featuring a certain cartoon mascot.
He's an anime mascot.
One look at the bloodstain on the cloth should make things clear. This piece of cloth was used to wipe Hifumi's glasses clean. And the mascot on the cloth is the same one that's on the digital camera, right? And whose digital camera was it? Hifumi's, of course.
The character was Princess Piggles from Demon Angel Pretty Pudgy Princess, I think.
I highly doubt anyone but Hifumi would have brought something like this to school.
I see your point. And the only people here who wear glasses are...
Hey, leave me out of this. I wear glasses. And all I do is a shirt. Like this. When you're in survival, you have to use what you got. So I think it's just fine. Even if they do get dirty a bit. So, I'm out.
I wouldn't be caught dead using a tacky piece of garbage like that.
A few tissues is all I need to keep my glasses clean.
Then there's no question. It belonged to Hifumi.
So what you're saying is... what exactly?
What I'm saying is, the blood on his glasses was wiped away using his own glasses cleaning cloth.
Even if that is true, it does not mean he wiped the blood off himself.
But who would benefit from a clean pair of glasses other than the glasses owner?
That's a good point.
And it must have been him, right?
So let's assume that Hifumi was still alive in the nurse's office. He pretends to be dead. Then when he's alone, he wipes his glasses clean so he can see. Then he stands up and walks out on his own 2 feet. And with that, the impossible task of moving his copious corpse becomes possible, wouldn't you say?
But then, if he was just pretending to be dead, what was with all that blood? Was it paint or something?
The fridge in the nurse's office contains packs of blood for emergencies. He probably used one of those.
What? I was right about those! And they didn't make a clue about that. I checked the fridge, and they didn't make this part of the truth bowl. What the flip wow? Oh my god! Why? What?
He figured if he was gonna play dead, he should go all out, so he just dumped it everywhere! But he got crazy with it and had to wipe his glasses off when he was done! Oh, what an idiot!
And if Hifumi was still alive at that point, the disappearance of Taka's body is easily explained. It should be perfectly obvious who must have moved Taka's corpse.
I got it! It could only have been Hifumi.
While we were all gathered in the nurse's office, he went to the equipment room and took Taka's body.
That also explains how the door to the repository got locked.
Yeah, that would
The door was locked?
Yeah.
Well,
Did you not notice?
after the bodies disappeared, we all went looking for them, right? So me and Sakura headed for the repository. But when we got there, the door was locked.
And the repository door can only be locked from the inside. Which means when Hina and Sakura got to the repository, someone was already inside.
And it could only have been Hifumi, who just finished stashing Taka's body there.
I just said that.
He convinced us all he was dead, and when he saw his chance, he dragged Taka's body to the repository. So, Hifumi wasn't just another victim in this case. He was one of the assailants.
What? You the killer? There's more than one killer in this case? What the hell? What the flip-flop? What the... I got nothing. Seriously, first it was killed or being killed with Maizano and Leon. Then we went to murder switcheroo, Mondo and show blackmail. And now this? What's next? Alter ego gets destroyed?
But that means he took part in the murders.
I just can't believe it.
I can't believe you'd be so stupid to be an assailant and working with someone. I mean, the rules state if you help a killer, you don't get any benefit. You're still dead meat. So what was the point of that?
If you're having trouble, would you like me to show you one more piece of evidence?
There's more?
Oh, absolutely. The single biggest fact pointing to his involvement has yet to be revealed. You know what I'm talking about, right, Makoto? The item he took off of Taka's lifeless body?
Are you talking about, this?
I got it! You're talking about the note Hifumi had hidden away, aren't you?
Hidden note?
That's right. We found it stuffed in his pants.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have mentioned that part.
What? In his pants?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yes, his pants.
Okay, well, forget about the pants for now. Take a look at what the note says.
Throw the pants out the window. Except my pants. So, leave mine alone. I got it.
That's the note I was telling you about. The one that told me where to go. Huh? Wait, this one's a little different. In my note it said, Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the rec room at 1 a.m.
I see. Then this note isn't the same one Hiro got.
It's not the same?
In other words, the killer got in touch with another person besides Hiro. And that person could only have been...
Wait, an option. It's gotta be... Taka!
I got it! That's right! Taka! The killer used this note to draw out Taka and murder him.
Hello? Over here! Objection! Objection!
What now?
I don't really understand what's going on, but Hifumi had that letter, right?
Don't mention pants.
So whoever wrote it wasn't drawing out TikTok, they were drawing out Huffy! Just to be clear, TikTok is Taka and Huffy is Hifumi, right? Ugh! Yes! Why must you ruin it every time?
She's a little cuckoo.
Huffy had the note, right? Then the person it was intended for must have been Huffy!
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter! The note has nothing to do with TikTok!
No, that's wrong! No! There absolutely is a connection.
What the hell are you talking about?
The note said to meet at 6 a.m., which is the same time Taka was murdered. We've already proven that using his wristwatch. But there's more. Look where the note says to meet. The equipment room, right?
Which is where Taka was killed. I see.
So, Taka was murdered at both the time and place written in the note. I think that should be plenty to show that this note was definitely meant for Taka.
Well, when you put it like that... No further objections!
Then someone used that note to trick Taka. Just the same as me. The culprit really is a cold-blooded monster. Telling people they found a way out.
Yeah, this is just
But if they gave the note to Taka, what was Hifumi doing with it? Stuffed down his pants, no less!
I thought we agreed he just stopped talking about pants.
Most likely, Hifumi stole it off Taka's corpse after he died.
Huh? He stole it?
Where's your proof? Go ahead, show us.
And I think I know what it is. Right here.
I got it! When I searched Taka's body, I saw that his lifeless hand was gripping a small scrap of paper. If I'm right about this, the sheet of paper this piece came from is... I knew it! It fits perfectly with the note we found hidden on Hifumi.
Then Taka's scrap and Hifumi's note.
Yup, they're from the same piece of paper.
Hifumi had the note meant for Taka, while Taka's corpse still grasped a small piece of that note. There's only one way to explain it.
Taka died clutching the note. Hifumi tried to free the note from his death grip, leaving behind only one small scrap. Did I get all that right?
That means Hifumi knew the note was important.
Exactly. Which proves that he was an accomplice in the murder.
So, if he was the accomplice, who was the boss? Who was in charge of the killing?
Whoa. Yeah. After seeing all this, Hifumi was super involved in this whole thing for sure. In fact, he was behind the whole thing. In fact, he's still alive!
Sorry, no.
No, not really. Sorry.
When we found him in the repository, Hifumi was truly and completely dead. The second body discovery announcement proves that.
So then, who killed Hifumi?
Whoever did is the mastermind, the true killer.
He was killed in the repository, so he must have been killed not long after transporting Taka's body.
So, he must have been killed after Taka's body vanished, but before we found both bodies in the repository.
During that time, we'd all split up and were searching for Taka's missing body. In other words, during that time, none of us have alibis.
In that case, alibi again.
Wait, but me and Sakura were together. Stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus!
Walrus? Are you calling her fat?
Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me too. But there's something that's been bothering me even more.
And what might that be?
The weapon they used to kill Hifumi.
The weapon?
Yeah, because I mean, according to the Monokuma file, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same. with them having similar fractures and all. But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room, right?
Yeah. Where's number 5?
So if Hifumi was killed in the repository,
Yeah,
the culprit would have had to grab one of the hammers, kill Hifumi, then put the hammer back where they found it. But wouldn't that be seriously risky for him?
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of a brain knocking around that skull of yours after all.
Seriously, dude.
Hell yeah, it's packed in there good and tight.
He's right, though. I don't understand it either. The Monokuma file makes it clear that they were killed using similar instruments. But if the hammers were already laying around those other rooms...
So the question is, how could the culprit have gotten their hands on either of the hammers? Personally, I haven't a clue.
So which hammer was used to attack Celeste? Number 1 or number 2?
Number 1,
Those were
obviously.
accounted for in other rooms too. And I don't think either one is big enough to kill someone.
Kinda weird.
Then,
Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing, right?
So then, what was used to kill Hifumi?
I think it was just a normal hammer. I think. Then again, it could be wrong. Wait, what about that clean hammer that we discovered? Ew, what is it?
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was, there's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it?
sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice...
No, that's wrong! The murder weapon wasn't a justice hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
But, seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris. But for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean. And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder. If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones, and even some flat mallet-like ones.
Just like a certain someone known as King Dedede. Oh, shut up now.
I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for their design.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him.
So,
Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not? Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
I think she's onto something. But I stand back. I think she might be right.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true,
It's not impossible.
No, it's wrong. Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward benefit?
We have a definition, please.
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
That's just awful! How can anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
Yeah. Why you pick Hifumi? Very beginning. Is why she said not one kill this series of connected event, but entirely separate incidents. Yoko is amazing. Oh, I knew that Tokumi was onto something. It was right. Makoto Naegi. Yes. I can't wait to see if they kiss at the end. Don't amazing. Oh, this is so juicy. Love, I love it. I love it. I love it. You can't hide the fact you love her. Actually, better tell her you were stealing her. She's like me.
I understand how an accomplice could be involved. But then, who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero right now.
Okay. Well, I think we'll leave this episode here. Now know that there were actually 2 murders, and Fumi was the accomplice. But next episode, we'll figure out who is the real killer, the one true killer. But I might screw up at the first, just because I'm still angry at a certain and frou-frou old black raven hair or wannabe. And I'm talking about Celeste. She does not deserve the name Celestia. That belongs to the alicorn of the sun. And so I'm gonna, if we get through that selected character, I'm picking her first to get the anger off my chest. So, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And like and subscribe, and tap the bell to get notified by more videos. So thank you all so much. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, Bronie!